Hey guys, in this video we're going to be checking out the oldest new guitar that we have ever seen in the acoustic shop. This is the Bedell Showstopper Fireside Parlor. So Jer, this is pretty cool. We have got in a guitar that was the Showstopper for Bedell.
And they literally called it that. It was the Showstopper at the show,
yeah.
But that's the title of the guitar.
It is.
It is gorgeous.
They took everything that they had and tried to build the nicest, the coolest, the most unique guitar that they could possibly do and show it off at the NAMM show.
And that's something Bedell's known for, is having some of the finest wood selection out there. That we've flown up to Bend, Oregon twice now just to go through their wood room, pick out guitars. You've done some custom builds from that. And we saw some of this wood there, but we're always afraid to even approach it. And explain what's in this guitar.
All right, so let's go through the specs of this guitar here a little bit. This guitar is made with a Ancient Sitka Spruce top.
And what does that mean, John?
This is special. Thank you, Jerry. I'm glad you were able to ask me about that. This is Sitka Spruce that was actually buried underground in frozen tundra. This is like
up in northern Alaska.
Yeah, this is way up there. And it was a Sitka Spruce tree that actually took on mineral content over 3,000 years.
It's really cool because the actual company that does the harvesting of wood, they were building a new workshop, digging out the side of a mountain, and came across this Sitka log, and they thought, oh, this is a pretty cool log. They cut into the log and said once they cut into it, they realized this was something special. They could actually see it change color. It started out as that really brilliant white Sitka look.
Yeah, just like Sitka
And then as
Spruce.
soon as oxygen touched all that mineral content, it just oxidized, changed to that beautiful color to it. They had it carbon dated, and it turns out it's about 3,000 years old, 1,000 BC.
I said it's over 3,000 years old.
It's in that range. Once you get to that age, you just kind of round it.
There you go. Anyway, it is a deep body parlor guitar from Bedell. It does have the Ancient Sitka Spruce with Milagro Brazilian rosewood. Now that's their top level of Brazilian rosewood. It looks gorgeous. The neck is figured maple neck with a head plate of that same Milagro Brazilian rosewood. The binding is pretty cool because they actually matched Brazilian rosewood binding to it, making a very unique look. You can see it with that black purfling. It looks really, really gorgeous. The fretboard as well as the bridge are going to be made out of ebony with a truss rod that is a single action truss rod. I've been seeing that they're going back to that single action truss rod, which is pretty cool. Bone nut and saddle with a Waverly nickel tuners. This is pretty cool. This has pearl buttons. They're black pearl and is actual stone or pearl material. That's pretty cool, I think.
This is actually shell, but yeah.
I'm going to call stone.
It
does have standard bracing in here. I do believe it is a Adirondack spruce bracing on it, so that's kind of a nice thing.
Do you think they use the Ancient Sitka for that?
I doubt it.
Pretty cool.
I very much doubt that they
do too.
did. Anyway, it does have the gloss finish on here with a neck finish that is the satin finish in the middle, but this is something I've loved about the Fireside Parlors that just knocks me out. I think this is super cool. To get the majority of the playing surface to have that satin feel, you have it up to here and about at this 9th fret-ish. It turns into a gloss finish matching the body, and it does the same thing, fades into a gloss finish. Can you fade into a gloss
They did
finish?
Somehow. I've done a few finish repairs. Somebody is very talented to do such a graduated. They do such a graduated fade to the gloss.
Because they're two different kinds of
the same with the
finish.
burst on it. The gloss matches the burst in the color, which is just, I think it's so cool. Somebody's very talented to be able to pull that off.
All these upper end Bedell cases or guitars, come with an Ameritage case. They're super, super nice, very well built and heavy. It does have an 1 3/4 nut width, as well as the like I told you, the pyramid bridge down here. I really like that classic look. These Fireside Parlors are gorgeous. I love the scallop on the fretboard.
The inlay's gorgeous on there too.
You know what I noticed this last night? I was looking at this guitar with a customer. By the way, by the time you see this guitar, it's actually already sold. I had multiple people as soon as we got it home.
It is one of a kind and the last of their Ancient Sitka.
But there's something really unique about this that I was really impressed with. If you see this abalone purfling that's all the way around here, a lot of times you see that it's in square blocks and you can see the actual individual squares. You cannot see that. It looks like one solid band of abalone all the way around, which is Again,
we were up
pretty
there in
darn
Bend.
impressive.
We were up there in Bend when the fellow that was doing the abalone inlay. He's very meticulous. Like he put a piece in, and then pull it back out because it just didn't match right. And in this one, I think he was just going for perfection.
So something that's really cool about this guitar, again, this was a special guitar built to kind of pull all the stops for the 2024 NAMM show. And with doing such, they grabbed all the top level things. They did some really great designs. And they also used the very last piece of that Ancient Sitka that they had available. This will be the last guitar that Bedell, at least that's what we've been told. Watch, they decide next week to go ahead and build
Well, it's the last of their current stock, so they'd have to go acquire some more 3,000-year-old
for
pieces
some
of
reason.
wood.
But I was told this is the last of it, as the Ancient Sitka. Now, what's really cool about this, as you said, it oxidizes with the oxygen, but that's because there's so much mineral content in there, metals and various things that kind of absorb into it. They're making it a very, very stiff piece of wood. In fact, we were talking to Tom about this, and he said this is really, really hard to build with and make sound good because of the fact that it's just got so much content in it that you have to kind of work with it. So I have to say, Bedell did a great job here because this is by far the best sounding of any of the Ancient Sitka guitars. I played a few, and they've all been good, but this is probably the best one that I have heard yet, and I think that's due to Bedell and their sound optimization. They do this stuff where they actually voice the tops to certain frequencies, the back to certain frequencies, and then an overall fundamental frequencies.
Science.
And they keep these numbers so they kind of have a really good idea of where it's going to be and kind of work through that to get those optimal sound qualities. And I think it really paid off in this guitar. This is not just a gorgeous guitar, but it actually sounds. I mean, it'd be better in tune. There's some fullness, there's some depth, there's some high end, but there is like an ancient tone to it. And I said this when we were looking at one of the Santa Cruz ones with the Ancient Sitka. There is just this cool vibe to it. It's tight. It was very tight, but there was just something that's just really, really unique about that tone property, and I was pretty impressed. So
I wouldn't expect anything less out of 3,000-year-old Sitka.
yeah, and a price tag to boot.
We've done all these videos about pre-war guitars and how much that aging affects the guitar. Now we're going to thousands of years, and we're not like talking like 100 years.
No.
This is 3,000 years right here. That's got some aging in it.
Now, one thing we didn't say in the specs above, this is a very expensive guitar, but considering what all is in the properties of this, is actually
if you're comparing
very,
it to
very
other Showstopper guitars that other manufacturers have made,
with the
it's
same
probably
wood levels,
probably about a quarter to half of the price of the other ones.
So that is totally true. So this did price out at $20,999.
Just a drop in the bucket.
So yeah, it was, everybody's got that pocket change. No, I don't.
I'll take two of them.
Anyway, what we should do right now, Jeremy, is kind of get into our ratings. This is done like we always do with a 1 to 5 rating system. We both checked it out. You played it. We played it at the NAMM show. We played it here. So we're going to start with our first category.
And again, this in like price range, it's going to be a little bit hard to say, but we've seen other Showstoppers and played some of them that have been at NAMM with that Ancient Sitka. So we're going to say in that $20,000 and above price range. How does this compare?
Yeah, I think it's a very fine guitar. There is definitely some really cool qualities to it. It's not as big sounding as some of the fireside parlors that I've played
Definitely
before.
changed the tone some.
There's a unique character to it. So with that said, not quite as big sounding, but there's something there that I've never heard in another guitar. And so I'm going to give it a 4.7.
Yeah, I was going to go right for 4.5. I think it's compared to some of the other Ancient Sitka, they really knocked it out if you're going to compare apples to apples. But even just in this price range, it really holds its own and produces very well.
Setup and playability, they did a fantastic job on this. The neck shape is comfortable. Everything about this is comfortable. It looks good, and it's well set up. So I'm actually going to give it a full 5 on this one.
Me as well. I don't see anything I would change on it.
No, there you go. The aesthetics, the looks, if you were... Guys,
can you go above 5?
I'm not a big bling out kind of guitar person, and this has a lot of abalone in it, and I think it should. If you're gonna do a showstopper, you got to show what it's done, but it's not those big giant square pieces of abalone and big honking inlays.
And even just
all
the
way
delicacy
across.
of the vine just is so classy looking.
I agree. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. my favorite. I mean, I love the Brazilian. I love the naturalness of that Brazilian. There's black ribbons and spider webbing and the whole thing going on. But this fade
I was gonna say
from this natural color, which is in the center here, this looks gorgeous.
It has
and
a sepia kind of gray tone to it.
Grayish fade that comes into it is stunning. There is nothing I've seen like that. Tie that with these black tuner knobs. I just think it's it's a full-on 5 for me.
It's like a beautiful vignette.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll definitely give that a 5. Like I said, if I can go above that, it is one of the most beautiful looking guitars I think we've had in.
I agree. Here's the cool thing. This is something that we can say in this, and we've not been able to say this about this level of guitar very often. This does pass the shop's sustainable effort. We know of all the details that the Bedell company does.
All the Brazilian is fully papered from pre-1940s, I believe, is when they got that wood originally. And then that Ancient Sitka, of course, is just... I don't think they're chopping down any rainforest for that.
It would be hard to do so. I would tell you that much. So build quality. I mean, this fade alone, just doing this finish work in here.
In general, I think the build quality of the Bedells are just beyond reproach. And then when they're doing a guitar like this that they know is their showpiece and they spend more time perfecting it, I don't think you're going to find anything with a build quality that would be lacking.
Nope, I agree with you. So I'm going to have to give it a 5, Jer.
I'm right there with you.
All right. So our last category that we got to handle, and this is always the one that makes us get a lot of grief on the internet, but I want to give it some serious value here, is the overall value of this guitar. I'm going to tell you it's going to be really, really high for me. In fact, I'm going to give it a 5, and I'm going to tell you why I'm going to do that.
Please do, John.
Most of these guitars that you've seen just with Ancient Sitka alone are going to run in the $10,000 to $15,000, if not $20,000 range. To add that to this level of Brazilian, I think most any of the super high-end builders that build boutique guitars that would have built with this kind of configuration, it would easily be in the $50,000, if not $60,000 range, maybe even higher. So at a $20,000 price point, that's a lot of money. It really, really is. It's more than I can afford. I don't think I will ever be buying
we talk about
one
at
of
the
those,
shop all the time, and people at home can maybe calm down a little bit and think about this, is other people make different amounts of money. Some people do really well in life. They might be an investment banker or a lawyer or have inherited money. Whatever they're doing, worked hard to make the money they have. I heard that there's a yacht that a fellow that owns a online website bought for like $180 million. I mean, for him, that's probably just like change. For him, a $20,000 guitar would be like me losing a quarter outside. It wouldn't even go looking
Jeff
for it.
Bezos is not worried about $20,000.
And in fact, Jeff Bezos is the guy that bought this guitar. Just kidding.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Anyway, that said, I do believe that this falls in overall value at a 5 because of what is here. I really think this is.
They could have priced it a lot higher than they did. That's an easy thing to say. Is they could have justified a price tag, $10,000 or $15,000 above what they priced this at. So I think with that in mind, that's not saying whether it's worth that to me or whether I could justify that. But for what they are producing there compared to the market, it is definitely a 5.
There you go. Well, guys, let's run over a few important questions that we'll try to answer like we do with all the different guitars. Who is this instrument for? I don't think this is for your average stage warrior. This is definitely not for your weekend warrior. This is for somebody who wants something that is just special, wonderful and special, almost museum level piece that can be played. And again, I find that, I know that's also somewhat of a area that people get upset about, but I think it's actually kind of cool that you can have a museum type thing that you can actually use and play. And if you're going to do that, to me, putting a piece of art on the wall, this is just as much art, and I can actually play it and make music with it.
That's a good point. I mean, what you consider art and the artists that can paint and do these incredible photographs or paintings, that takes a very skilled artist to do that. Mm-hmm. You could say the same thing for these guys that are in that workshop building these guitars, except they're doing it on multi-planes. They're doing it on the finish they do. They're doing it on the inlay that they're putting in there, the wood selection, and then also having to make the tone of the guitar sound as good as possible. That's a lot of different levels of artist. So I definitely think there's value in having something like this hanging in your beautiful guitar room, and that's who this is meant for. Somebody that's got the money and got the resources for it, but wants something that they can show off in their guitar room, in their office, that is beautiful and something that people will be awe-inspired by.
I agree. But that being said, they did put a lot of thought into what would make a great sounding guitar. I do think that adding a maple neck, which is an uncommon choice for a rosewood guitar, is there. And this definitely has a lot of character. So tone-wise, it is not as big as what most of the Bedell Parlors sound like, but there is an articulate individual
Sustain, like it just rings out.
There's comfort, there's balance all the way around this guitar. So I don't find it to be a big boomy small body guitar, but it's definitely delicate and yet has richness and fullness that you're not seeing in a lot of guitars.
I agree.
So I guess the biggest thing that you're going to get your drawback on is the price tag. But again, we discussed why it's value. That's still, again, for 99%, the 99% of us, Jer, not that top 1%, that can handle this, it's going to be a little bit too expensive. I wish I could handle something like this.
Some people are going to say it's ridiculous, and why would you do that? But you can say that about just about every other thing, furniture and curtains some people hang up are worth more than this guitar. So, yeah, that's going to be one of the things that I would say is a con, is the price tag is very high. And in the past, the Ancient Sitka has not necessarily been a benefit tone-wise, but I think they really dialed it in, were able to get the most tone out of that wood, and actually did an excellent job, in my opinion, on that. So I wouldn't even call that a con in this situation.
Instruments to compare it to, this guitar is definitely in that boutique builder style, very similar to what Santa Cruz has been putting out. They've been using a lot of these same tone woods, maybe not the same Brazilian rosewood back and sides, but in that same sort of build. So if I were going to compare it, it would be more of their small body Santa Cruz style guitars. So I think we talked about it enough, Jer. I think what we need to do now is get the folks a little bit of tone samples so they can find out what does a 3,000-year-old Sitka top sound like when it's paired with exquisite workmanship and other valuable tone woods. So let's do that and let you guys hear, what does this guitar sound like? Jer, I think this is a fabulous guitar. I'm glad that we were able to be the caretaker for it for a short amount of time until we found the forever home for it. But Bedell builds some really, really cool stuff. And we talked a little bit about the tone optimization. I almost forgot what it was called. The tone optimization. And one thing that is pretty cool is we also wanted to kind of talk about their body shapes. They really do make big sounding instruments, and we did a video that compares all of the Revolution guitars, the Dreadnought, the OM, and the Parlor, all in one video, so you can hear the same tone woods with 3 different body sizes, and that video link is going to be in the middle of your screen here in just a second. So click on that, and guys, stick around because we will have even more crazy and cool guitars here at the Acoustic Shoppe
I'm going
channel.
digging inside of mountains looking for wood now.
That's right. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so that we can kind of continue to do this, because I love talking about guitars, and we will see you for the next guitar here on the Acoustic Shoppe channel.
Or mandolin, or banjo.
Maybe. I like guitars.